Hi everyone, it's Ileana and I have a card to share with you today. I'm going to be using some products from Reverse Confetti. I'm going to start with the Tweet Live stamp set and I'm just going to stamp it onto some Bristol cardstock. I did prep it with my anti-static tool, and the reason why I'm going to do that is because I am going to use some clear embossing powder and I don't want that powder to stick where it's not supposed to. I am using VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. It is a little bit sticky, so you're able to emboss with it. And it's the same deep black pigment that you get with the VersaFine Onyx. So once I'm done heat embossing, I'm going to clean off my stamps with my Gina K Tidy Towel. It is a textured towel. Just dampen it with some water and you're able to clean your stamps. It does have some texture to it, so you're able to get into the nooks and crannies of your stamps. I'm putting my sentiment onto a rectangle piece of cardstock, and I'm just going to also put some clear embossing powder onto it as well. I'm going to stamp the birdhouse again on a separate piece of Bristol cardstock because I'm going to color this one and then use the die cut to pop it off my card. I'm going to adhere my images to my board using some purple tape. It is like a masking tape and it does not rip your paper when you pull it off. Arteza contacted me about reviewing these real brush pens. These pens don't come with any kind of name or number on them, so I did use a little bit of tape to label them myself, and I just used numbers. And once I had them marked up, I created this template here, and I just put the numbers next to the swatch. That way I know which pen to pick up. And I kept them in the order that they came. So I'm just going to start with the darkest part of the birdhouse, the inside, and I'm just going to put a little bit of color into the bottom half, and I'm just going to take the water brush that they provided, and I'm just going to spread that color around. I did find that these are very comparable to the Zig Clean, I can never remember the name, the Zig Clean Color Real Brush Pens. They're very similar. The nib is a little bit longer than the Zigs, but they blend the same. The only difference is that they don't have a name on it, and I did ask Arteza, I think that's how you say their name. I did ask them that what if you run out of one color or your marker um, gets empty and you need to replace it, and they just told me that you would just have to buy another set. So you want to keep that in mind because the Zig pens you can just buy one if you need to get a refill. But since there's no names or numbers on any of the pens, you're not able to request for one particular color. So you can see that they blend rather smoothly. They do work like watercolors. They do bloom, so you want to make sure that you spread your color and keep your paper wet enough so that you could avoid those blooms. I do like them. They are nice. So and they are at a smaller price point than the Zigs. But like I said, the only bad thing is that you can't just refill one. You would have to replace the whole package. So if you're looking to try something new, I would recommend these just because they are very inexpensive. I did have a little bit of trouble with this little bird here. I really should have stopped messing around with him after I put the first coat. What I did was I just laid the color around the edges, and then what I did was just bring the colors in towards the middle. And I should have waited until the first layer was completely dry before I started messing with it because I kept getting blooms just where you can see the pigment just starts to dry in a puddle. And it didn't really happen too much with the other little bird, but I should have stopped right there because it's beautiful right there. But I kept messing with it and I kept adding more color. And then my paper was drying a little bit too fast. And then I started to get little pills on it. And so um, I should have just let it dry before I added the next layer of color. For the bottom part of the bird, I just colored the whole thing. I didn't spread the color around. I just colored it solid. The stamp set does come with um, the bellies of the bird, but I didn't use them. I just colored with the brush pens. Arteza also did send the watercolor brushes that I am using. Um, they come in a set of 6, and they are really nice. They hold a lot of water, and the water does run out of them well. And I didn't really have to even prime the pen when it would get dry. It would automatically stay damp. The package of 6 comes with 3 of the flat brushes and 3 of the um, I don't think they're called round brushes, but they're the typical pointed brush that you get when you have watercolor pens like this. So for this little bird here, I'm just going to use um, 2 different colors, and he was a little bit easier to color. I didn't get as many blooms, and my paper did stay a little bit wet a little bit longer, so I was able to go back and add a darker shade. Now for the belly of the lighter bird, I did pick a really dark shade, and I just added a tiny, tiny little line to the very bottom. I mean, it's a very tiny line, but then you'll see how much color I drag from the bottom and just pull that color up. So these pens do have a lot of pigment in them. And then usually what you're watching me do is I'll color with the pen, and when I want to change colors, I will just color onto a piece of scrap paper. So now for the sky, I'm just going to use a stencil and some distress ink in the faded jeans just to add some clouds to the background. I didn't want it to be stark white, but I also didn't want to ink blend the whole thing. And so I'm just going to use a stencil to create a sky. So for the background, I am using some green cardstock, and I added some stick-it adhesive to the back of it just so that it would be easy to adhere it down without having to use a lot of liquid glue. I'm just pulling the backing off of the stick-it paper. The stick-it adhesive the sheet is very thin, so it makes it easy for die cutting. And so I'm just pulling off all the little scraps, and I'm just going to add it onto a lighter green cardstock. I'm not sure what colors these are. I just picked a couple of shades of green that looked well together. And then I'm just going to trim what is hanging off the edge with my Fiskars scissors. I do like these scissors. They're very sharp, and you're able to cut through thick um, items like chipboard and that sort of thing just because they are amplified scissors. I've added some foam to my sky background, and now I'm just going to adhere the little colored elements to the front of my card. I added some foam adhesive to the back of them and just adhered them down. And now I am going to um, add some iridescent jewels by Lucy Abrams onto my card. And once that's done, my card is complete. Be sure you check out the blog. I'm going to add some additional projects that I completed with supplies, just another variation of the card. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. Thanks so much.